All right, so I was cut off from my last video. Okay, so my storage in here I have to empty in order to continue with videos. So let me go on to part 2 here. So this is what happened with my abortion. And I call it a forced abortion because number one, I didn't even know what an abortion was. Number two, I was not allowed to be a mother. I was not allowed to feel that I was a mother. It was a crisis. It was my mother's abortion, I call it. It was her crisis. It was her problem. Um, and she took over. I wasn't really allowed to even process that I was pregnant. Okay. So it was just, you're in big trouble. This is a crisis. What are we going to do about it? Kind of thing. What is she going to do about it? So, up to this day, I have not had a conversation with my parents about abortion. All I heard through the grapevine is she said that you were too young and she didn't want a relationship with me because it's too hard. So, she got out of it. Um, but when I tried to say something, I think it was to my grandmother, I said, you know, and to another my sibling, I said, that was a baby. And he had said, you were too young. My grandmother, you were too young. At first, my grandmother, being a Catholic, when I told her about it, she had not known. She had no idea. She's like, you're kidding me. And she was very offended. And then she talked to my mother and went with my mom and said, you were too young. So nobody asked if I thought I was too young. Nobody asked me a thing, basically, except my mother wanted to know if I wanted her to help me raise my kid. And I didn't know anything about pregnancy. I thought, once when me and my Aunt Kim and Mom were out shopping, saw this really fat woman. She was pregnant. Somehow, school, everything, you don't really have a baby until you're showing, right? And then even my father thinks that you're not, my father thinks you don't have a baby until it comes out. Okay. And back then, men were not allowed in the delivery room. And I've heard other people think this too. And that's what you get when you come from a small hick town, right? So, I remember something about I just have not I had not even really processed anything yet. I do tend to be kind of very long-winded or slow. I had not processed any of this, and yet she was coming down on me, and then she took me against my will back to my boyfriend's. So I'm feeling pressured there. Um, with her, I'm getting cut down with my dad. I'm getting condemnation. I'm getting dragged to a boyfriend's, right? So I was still okay. I still felt a sense of self. But I don't know. I guess I've always had like some sense of self that has kept me pretty strong amongst everything that happens in my life. So I'm kind of getting beaten down here with people trying to control me, right? So I I remember that conversation, and then I just remember a bunch of phone calls being made kind of behind my back, and then wasn't even planned, except something about Randy having to pay $300. I think I had to go there or something and give the doctor some money to, I don't know if it was to help me. I think uh no, I think that was something else. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was $300. It was $300 definitely for the doctor to help me or something. But again, it was just go pay this to the doctor. Go on this errand and pay this or something like that. I can barely remember, but then without even knowing I was going to be taken out of school, I was taken out. Don't really remember the ride there. I remember this was on This was over by Friendly's on Main Street in Concord, OBGYN. So I remember something about I was walking in with my mother, and she was telling, there were people on the sidewalk, a couple people I think, trying to hand out something or say something. So she shielded me from that. She said, just keep walking and don't listen to them, something like that. And then I went in the doctor's office, and I remember sitting down in the office, and my mother said, just sign this, don't read it. So trusting my mother, I did what she said. A daughter should be able to trust her mother, although I trust was broken with what she was doing. But here I am in a doctor's office, right? Feeling vulnerable with whatever is going on. I don't even know what's coming. And so I'm vulnerable, so I'm going to listen to her again, right? So I signed the paper like she said to sign. She didn't want her name on anything. And I didn't read it. Like she said, I didn't read anything. I got my medical papers like 20 years down the road. And it did say that I would be having a D&C and tissue would be removed. So it was a blob of tissue, it says on the papers. So, when you're a kid, you can be taken advantage of, right? Very easily. So, like I said, I was taken up to a room. The doctor was really cold, kind of threw my clothes at me, the nightie, and said, take your clothes off and put this on. And then when he was done, it was, here, take these and get dressed. Just get dressed, kind of threw my clothes at me. Very cold mannerism, treated like garbage. He put something in me. I didn't know what it was. So that was opening me up. And then I was told I could leave. My mother brought me to Weeks Restaurant on Fort Eddy Road. I could not sit up. Just like Britney Spears says, it's excruciating, the pain. So she said, let's get out of here, after a waitress asked me if I was okay. She answered for me and said she's fine. Let's scram, basically, she said. Let's get out of here. She had ordered lunch for me. I didn't eat. All I could do was lay on that bench and just try to manage the pain. Years later, the records would show I was 3 months along, even though I didn't even look like I was pregnant. Just like with my firstborn son, I did not look pregnant. And so, she had me pay the bill. She gave me the bill, said, pay this, I'll meet you in the car. Was in the car sitting, I don't know how long, but I could not take the pain. And I was blocking her voice out because I was trying to deal so much with the pain I was feeling. Don't remember, I do remember pulling out of the Fort Eddy Plaza. Don't really remember the drive over to OBGYN, a mile down the road. Don't remember, was focused on trying to survive, basically. I mean, the pain is excruciating. No medication, didn't knock me out, nothing. So here I am 3 months along, not even knowing that I'm 3 months along. And don't remember being taken upstairs. I still can't remember that. And then looking to my left and, seeing the blood and a nurse jumping in front of me saying it's going to be okay and holding my hand. I do remember laying there, and I do remember feeling, and you got to kind of block it out. And this is where I'm talking about that comment. Somebody making a comment can just make you feel like you're right there again. So I remember feeling not just the cramping, but feeling the baby inside me, thinking it was probably tissue. But I remember feeling, especially with this comment, like the cramping and the, just the suction. I remember that. So, not that I understood it was a baby, because I didn't think it was a baby. And you just think like all that blood is like tissue, or your like a period or whatever, right? You're not there. So You're way out there. You just had a crisis. You are way out there. There's a people pressuring you. It's like a gang, right? Everybody wanting you to be the sacrifice for them to save face. And yes, there are people who are cold-hearted, and I do remember my mother's coldness during that time, just really hard-hearted toward me, really against me, really just just like frustrated, you know. I remember that. So um she knew she knew what was going on, and she used her daughter to get her way. It wasn't I was too young. It was, you're a problem. What's going on is a problem for me, and I have to solve it, and I have to figure out the best way is going to benefit me or make my husband happy because my dad wanted it. So it's not you were too young.